Hi, welcome to the second episode of KeyedIn with James and Dan. This is brought to you by our new spiffy website for KeyBridge, which you can find at interactive.keybridge.us. Today we'll be talking about AI. What you got to say about that, Dan?
Oh man, I got a lot to say about AI. It should be noted that this might be a multiple episode podcast. There's a lot to talk about. I think that a couple things that I'd like to cover and discuss with you are day-to-day uses, things that I've used it and things that you've explored. But also just in general, the things that are good, the things that are bad, at least in use cases, but that more generally, as far as like industry-wide, like trends that are positive, trends that are negative. And I would like to throw out a disclaimer that, this is going to be a definitely do your own research type podcast, and put a stamp all over this thing. Do your own research. There's a lot of information out there. We're going to try to stay away from some of the political implications of this and some of the like really hot button issues. And, I think it's worth mentioning those things, but we're not going to go into a stance one way or the other, hopefully, and more of just like an informational take. But yeah, I think it's,
well, before you start,
go ahead.
If you're new to this podcast, I just want to say that we mostly focus on like educational software as a company. So that's probably from our standpoint, we'll be talking about AI in those terms.
Yeah, definitely through that lens. But I think we'll expand beyond that a little bit and talk about some of at least I'd like to explore some of these things, because I think it's, it will be hard to compartmentalize just hey, AI is great and using it for these applications without also talking about the flip side.
That's
right?
fair. I mean, AI is kind of representing kind of a paradigm shift in our culture right now.
Yeah.
So it's hard to talk about it in such small ways anyway.
Yeah. It was funny whenever I was recently in California, close to Silicon Valley, and every billboard had something about AI. Every single one. I thought that, and I know that it's fairly ubiquitous right now, and everyone's talking about AI, and us included. But is it really that evasive in our day-to-day life, right? Is it this? Is that just the money talking, because there's billions and billions of dollars investor money being put into this new technology, or newer, right? I don't know if we can say it's new now, but this newer technology, and is it something to be that excited about, right? Is it something that is as useful as it's quoted to be, or is it, where is it for a quote unquote normal person, right? In a normal workflow. So I think from that perspective, like, James, give me a little bit of background on like how pervasive is AI use in
my day-to-day?
Yeah, in your day-to-day.
In my work day, or like my creative life day?
Just in general, across the board.
I've used it. I've experimented with it since it's become a thing. I've been encouraged to for this company. So like I've used it for this company in a couple of simple ways. I kind of don't. I'm worried that my brain will atrophy if I kind of use it too much, to be honest.
Yeah.
And so like if we do like meetings, right?
Yeah.
It's like good at tracking meetings. And like that's something I would do, take up my week, spend time out of my week to do on my own. And I honestly kind of still prefer to do it that way, because I still feel more engaged with a product when I'm like in a meeting, looking at the notes myself and having to like kind of make those concise notes with my own brain. For AI though, if there's like a 2-hour meeting and like I can kind of like get it to sum up some points, and that's useful. I also like being able to send like its screenshots and say organize this information from the screenshot, which I think is amazing. But outside of that, I don't like to use it for creative things, even though that it's still like some of my friends at work use it for that, and they'll send me ideas. So I have to sift through their AI generated prompts and other people's AI generated prompts, and maybe that's a good medium of human and machine.
Yeah. This, if we go back to the origins of this podcast as an idea, part of this started about from a Slack exchange between the two of us. I don't even remember what it was. It was some kind of...
I think we were trying to come up with possibly titles for this podcast.
Was it?
Yeah. It was something for this podcast was related to this podcast where you were giving this AI prompts, and I was trying to write as many good prompts against it.
And you're like, I hate AI. Basically, or not necessarily like that, but it was very much... And I asked you, you feel like you're in a John Henry moment, right? Is AI going to take over your job eventually? And that, which everything that at least I use it for, it's definitely, like you mentioned, it's an augmentation.
Yeah.
Right. And there's some severe limitations in what it's able to serve up and help with. But, as far as my day-to-day, I definitely use it as an augmentation to what I'm doing.
Before we keep going with this, I want to explain what the John Henry story to people who probably might not know.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But John Henry was a railroad worker.
Yeah.
Around a time where somebody had built a railroad laying machine, and I think the folk story goes he competed against this machine and he beat it, but died while he beat the machine, but he sacrificed his life for it. Me feeling like John Henry, I think, was when we were there was a moment where we were trying to come up with a title for this podcast, and you had put this prompt in, it came out with 30 titles right away. I think it took me 3 days to come up with as many titles, but in my defense, KeyedIn was a title that I came up with my human brain and not the AI.
Yeah.
So
no, and I think that's a very relevant story, and you're still alive.
Yeah.
So you win, right?
Yeah, me and John Henry are 2-0 in wins, but 1-1 in surviving.
Yeah, and I think that all harkens back to the Industrial Revolution, right? And people being concerned with the inevitable progress of technology and how it impacts our daily life. We like to think about how all the positive side effects of technology, but we're in this interesting spot now, very similar to the Industrial Revolution, where, and I know that this is not a new concept or metaphor, where people are looking at what efficiencies and benefits some of this AI content can have towards our day-to-day life, and then starting looking around at people who do those jobs and wondering if they can be replaced.
Yeah. Which is kind of scary as a writer. Let's say a lot of my job is writing, so it's kind of tough to get excited about this thing doing something similar to me. I have tested it out to see how well it writes, and it's been pretty interesting. I got a couple examples if you want me.
Go ahead.
There's a couple of famous comic books that never got released, by Alan Moore. So I had one time I found his outline, and I started saying, write this. I started breaking down the prompts, write this scene based on this outline in the style of Alan Moore, and I would see how it could kind of write like a real writer. But the more you use those prompts, you can kind of see where it's no, this is just nonsense that it's writing.
Yeah.
So it's been kind of interesting to see its limitations and in some respects its strengths. I think I could quickly write a novel using ChatGPT, but I would still have to edit it. I spend a lot of time having to edit it, and a lot of it's generic, and that's another fault of it. It's it's trying to be generic, it's making an average of things.
Yeah.
So if you like average things, you don't like exceptional things, it's great.
Yeah. Mediocre. Yeah. and that's an interesting point. And so, and I'll feed off of that and talk about some background, at least what I've used it for. So, I initially went in, and I've been playing around with it for the last 6 months or so through very different platforms. And we'll talk about some of those platforms here in a little bit. But I first went in thinking that it was hey, this is going to be a miracle machine and do whatever, right? And started putting in prompts, and both from a programming, able to write little JavaScript programs. One of the very first use cases was at the time my youngest daughter was learning her multiplication tables, and I wanted to create a real simple program that randomly threw out multiplication questions and have her be able to answer them, and then it check see if it's right or wrong. So I asked it to write a simple JavaScript program that would throw a series of multiplication questions out, only up to from 0 to 9, and it did it and threw out the JavaScript. And I was like, okay, well, now what do I do with this? It's like, okay, well, you can just upload it to an index file, an HTML, and then you can run it in a browser.
That's crazy.
Which I did, right? And so it brought up the index files. I was able to open it up in my browser, and it worked, and it was actually super cool. And for a proof of concept, it was really neat. And she was able to go in there and answer the questions, and it would say if it was correct or incorrect, and it was pretty neat. Another one of those examples where I threw out write a story about a cat and a whatever for my older daughter, and it was pretty generic, right?
Yeah,
but it went through the phases of storytelling a story, and it wove in some of the silly details that I put in there, but it was a fairly low reading level. You could tell, it was more of a second to third grade reading level. And to be fair, this was ChatGPT 1, I think. So this is over 6 months ago. But so then I started using it occasionally for work, and what I found was, just like you mentioned, the amount of editing that I'd have to go through and edit if I just asked it to do something whole cloth. If I had like an outline and asked, okay, write something about, address this prompt, I would have to go through and really change tone, change complexity, and it was a waste of my time, as it turns out. So I think especially with writing, it has a difficult time, other than if I get stuck on a sentence that doesn't quite sound right, then I'll throw it in there.
Yeah.
And then it will manipulate what I already have and make it flow, right? And I'll have, some better agreement in my verbs and nouns, etc.
Yeah.
Or have a better synonym for whatever I'm trying to say, and it will make flow easier. So it almost, it irons out some of those kinks as I'm going.
Yeah.
So I think that's really powerful.
I think that for stuff like just polishing stuff, I think it's pretty good. I think people kind of overrate. They think it's like intelligent. Like they think artificial intelligence is intelligence.
Yeah. And
it's like, I don't think people realize it doesn't have critical thinking, or at least like in my experience, it hasn't shown that to me. Like for one, I'll give this back. I don't know if there's any sports fans. Are you a sports fan?
I've watched sports occasionally.
Yeah. I know you have people in your life that are sports fans.
Very much so. My wife is a rabid sports. I mean, I went to the OU game on Saturday, so in that respect, I'm a sports fan.
Yeah, so you are aware of like sports culture, like these like unknown dream matches that sports fans always talk about.
Yeah.
So I had this question for ChatGPT that I thought would like give me the answer so I could win debates. So I said, so people today say the NBA is soft or something. They can't hand check. They don't play defense anymore. Allen Iverson from the 2000s, great offensive scorer. I was like, okay, how would ChatGPT, what would Allen Iverson average in today's NBA based on the new defense, right? And they said 19 points a game, which is his all-time career average, and not his prime average. And with the softer defense. So like the ChatGPT couldn't even really understand why it gave me that answer. Like why, like it's just like, oh, we're just going to give him his career average. And that's how we came to this answer. But that's like a terrible way. It's like so shallow, I think.
Yeah. Well, and maybe this is a good time to back up and when we're talking about AI in general. Like what we're talking about are large language models, LLMs.
Yeah.
And my rudimentary understanding of how all of these work is all they are doing is trying to predict the next word or phrase or insert the blank based off of its training data that it's been trained on. So when you're talking about intelligence, it's not. My understanding is it's not intelligence. It's just trying to fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Right. While also being mandated to answer the question, which is also some of the trouble that it gets into when forcing itself to answer a question when it might not know and then hallucinating.
Yeah.
And that's another thing we need to talk about. All of these models have a certain percentage of hallucinations, which are basically wrong answers, blatantly wrong, false, lies. Maybe lies is too strong because that implies intent.
No, there are lies. Like I one time, I guess the intent is wrong, or the intent would be important, but there would be times where like I would ask it to make me an oral history of a certain topic, and it would give me all the players and give me all their quotes. And it would just be creating quotes. It wouldn't be based on anything. So it would be like this historical event with real people with quotes that they never said.
Yeah. So I think there's plenty of concern of making sure you check your own work.
Yeah.
And that's the other part of this is like if you write a prompt and going back to your other critique of about Allen Iverson and not really getting an in-depth answer, I think that also goes back to what kind of prompt you're feeding it, right? You have to be hyper specific about what information you want it to want to consider in its decision making, right, into that matrix, and the whole prompting, that's a prompting science and trying to get the information you want is a whole other topic, but as far as what were these models, and then and your expectation of what it's producing. Well, I don't know. Let's go, instead of talking theoreticals, let's get into some specifics.
Yeah, like specific case uses.
Yeah, and some of these platforms. So we're talking about LLMs. I have a list of a couple here. And tell me if you've used these before. Notebook LM, that's Google's.
I have not.
Okay, so Notebook LM is basically it's a Google product, and it will hook up to your drive or link to your drive, and you can upload PDFs and Google Docs, and it will aggregate information from those documents. So this is before ChatGPT allowed you to, or at least the paid version, I forget, upload PDFs and then have your files. So you could have, so early on, Notebook LM was great about uploading a bunch of different documents and then being able to ask questions and would only give you answers based off of your document set, which is pretty cool. So not only that, but it would also, or it does also reference where in those documents those answers are coming from.
Yeah.
So it wasn't pulling from the entirety of the internet, right? So your hallucination rate was fairly low. Perplexity. Have you used Perplexity?
I've only used ChatGPT.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Perplexity is another. I replaced Google there for a while, just using Perplexity because I wanted to get away from the advertisement side of getting on a browser and asking something for asking about something and immediately getting hammered with you should buy this or whatever.
It's really invasive.
Yeah, it's absolutely horrendous. And a lot of this this push to AI before then, now these LLMs are now integrated to browsers as well, so you're getting that information no matter where you go. But I was using Perplexity a lot for everyday answers because it was, I felt at the time it did a better job of giving me a direct answer instead of with a marketing bent. Gemini.
I think Gemini is Microsoft.
Yeah, that's Microsoft's. I really haven't used that much.
I have it on, I didn't want it, but I have it now.
You're right, exactly. It's integrated into everything. I know that we've used that a little bit with, it has integrated really well with coding. I know that our developing software, that's super helpful. And then, of course, ChatGPT.
The GOAT. No, I'm just joking. I do not endorse any of these either way.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the big names, right? Out of all of these, some of these other ones are fairly small. I think a lot of people are trying to catch up. Let's see, what's Google's? Doesn't Google have one?
Did you say a Google one recently?
The Notebook LM, but that's a different. I don't know what Google's is. I know that Google. I think Facebook. Does Facebook have one as well? Probably.
I know Meta. I think Meta's linked to something because if I search anything on Instagram or it'll give me like AI prompts. Basically.
Okay. Yeah. Everyone's tied in. So, but also things like so through Garmin, through my Garmin app, I use their Garmin Coach feature, and that's interesting because it takes all of my analytics of so I have a set training plan. So I put in a race, right? So I have race day put in, and and what that race is, and then it works backwards and gives me daily workouts of what I should be doing towards hopefully success of that race, and based off of what metrics that I want to be. Do I just want to finish the race? Am I trying to, what metrics for success have I set as my goal? And then it will give me a week of training sessions, which are adaptive. So if I sleep like garbage, and I get a terrible sleep score, then my training will change and I'll get a lighter training, or it might just cancel. It's like, hey, you screwed up on your sleep, so you're going to take a rest day today.
Go see the doctor.
Yeah, go see the doctor. What are you doing? And or hey, you did too much on this day, so this next day will be lighter. Or hey, you were too light on this day, or you skipped the second part of your workout. So we're moving that to the next day, which that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that's built into the platform, and that's free through, like I said, through Garmin. So that's kind of neat, but that's kind of like a hands off, that just happens in the background. I think ChatGPT, that's a big one. I know, personally, before I started using the Garmin Coach, I used that as hey, build out my workout plans, Also nutrition plans.
Yeah.
I was putting like my daily nutrition, my daily macros in there, and it was adapting, ideas. It's really good for, at least at that time, it was really great of like, hey, these are the ingredients that I want to eat.
Yeah.
What are some recipes? And
Did
it
you use
would
those?
spit out.
Did you cook those?
Oh yeah.
How
Yeah,
are
yeah.
they?
Good. I mean, it's all basic stuff. I mean, that's where I started. We were talking about tuna steaks earlier.
Yeah.
That's how I started eating tuna steak, or like riced broccoli and cream cheese and that, like creamy, like.
I've always been interested in what their recipes taste like because they're like, again, like it has no critical thinking. I'm like, was it to need salt to taste good or like whatever? Like,
Well, that's so. These, it's not like baking where it's giving you precise measurements.
Yeah.
Right. Like I used it more of a, hey, here's an idea, and I don't know, maybe those are good, maybe they aren't good. I'd be hesitant to give it a recipe grade other than these are some good ideas of how to incorporate these ingredients into a meal.
I was like inspiration.
Yeah. And then you're kind of, aside, like I don't know how I kind of cook where I just kind of throw everything together and then hope for the best, and usually it turns out really good.
I mean, I think the only thing I can maybe cook is spaghetti, so I think that would lend itself to spaghetti.
Okay, fair enough. Well, maybe I'm a little bit more adventurous, but just getting those ideas of, hey, and I asked for a 3-month nutrition plan, and it spit out hey, here are however your 3 meals a day revolving over the next 3 months, including these ingredients, and then ask for a grocery list and spits out a grocery list.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff where that if I do that manually, that would take me much longer than just going down this thread.
Yeah.
In ChatGPT, I know in the subscription, which I do, full disclosure, I do pay for the subscription. The ability for it to remember your projects, right? So you have your project, and within that project folder, you have all of your queries associated with that project and documents associated with that. So then, as you're building that out, building questions out, it builds its understanding of that project.
Yeah. I think even like when we talk about our own projects that we work for work, I think some of my coworkers have used it as a kind of a preliminary research tool.
Yeah.
So like going into like a new topic, we make things like lots of things that we don't know about off the top of our head. We're really specific in the training we make. So a lot of times with a lot of recent projects, I know some of my coworkers have just like typed in just like, what is this to start on day one? It's not like a day 100 thing, but day one, just like, so we have like kind of like a precursor to what we're getting into. I think it's been great for that. Yeah.
Another application that we've used is learner analysis, right? We usually get the really thin demographic of who our learner base is for these products that we develop. And to be able to use that very thin outline and build it out through some of these LLM features has been fantastic.
Yeah.
Right. Because then you can start building in motivational theory, even like generational assumptions, and learning preferences, styles. These are still broad assumptions, right?
Yeah.
And I could bring up that'll take too long. But also in those metrics, you can also ask it. So in one of these queries, I had asked to put together learner analysis, and then also include a level of certainty, right? Which is another way so you can get a better idea and to evaluate how good that data is, assuming that it's telling the truth, right?
Yeah.
Or but it did a really good job of of giving a high certainty level or a low certainty level, or medium, and then explaining why for each of the points it made. So I think that level of confidence and asking that in your prompting, I think that's also important. And when it comes to using this, I think it is up to, as you mentioned, it's up to the critical eye of the user.
Yeah.
But also you can build in some of those tolerances whenever you're asking questions.
Yeah.
So it can do some of that work for you, and give you a little bit more robust of an answer, so you can evaluate how much weight you should put towards these things.
Yeah, I think the way you're describing using it is probably the best use case. Like, it's almost like an extra teammate, but it's not like something like, we all have confidence in each other, but we don't have like 100% confidence in anyone.
You're right.
So it's just like an extra person to bounce ideas off of, almost.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And that's if we move from using it for text, well, here's another example. Creating PDFs. I have yet to have successful PDF creation, especially fillable PDFs.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a little too strong a word, but it really struggles with creating PDFs. Like, it will throw like special characters, like hyphens, whatever, for some reason, make it create black boxes all over your document.
Yeah. You didn't want that?
Yeah, I mean, I do. Fillable PDFs is a nightmare. I fought with ChatGPT for, I don't know, a round of maybe 20 cycles of questioning, trying to move the fillable box to the correct location in the PDF, and then finally gave up. And it's funny because it's like, hey, I'll try. It's perfect, right? Every time, I'm like, nope, still not good. Still needs to drop it. And even I've tried it with web development as well. It's spatial awareness. I built that our original website.
For people who are new to this, our original website that you're looking at probably right now, the first version of it was built in ChatGPT entirely, and we had to like go back from scratch and rebuild it, basically.
Yeah. Actually, we didn't have to. We was able to use some of that. But I mean, on the flip side, it was Gemini was used, that was an interesting process, because that was just me and ChatGPT. Like, and I'm not a web developer. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not a graphic designer. I can use a computer and can ask ChatGPT, and that was an interesting process.
If my memory serves me correctly, you grabbed all the all the material that we developed for the website, like bios, about section, like lists that we wrote ourselves, and you just showed up like 2 days later with the entire website.
That's a little bit of oversimplification. So I probably put in 60 hours into that build, of going back and forth. There was some manual back and forth, but majority of it was built from, the HTML was built using ChatGPT. Some of that was live editing, which worked, but then I'd just run into weird problems where I wouldn't be able to articulate with my language that I was putting in with text what the change needs to be.
Yeah.
So I don't know, a lot of the spatial awareness it has a severe problem with. And even with, one of the ways I would take screenshots and upload them back up to ChatGPT, like, hey, this is what I'm seeing. That's not whatever your idealistic version you think you developed. This is the garbage that you're spitting out.
It's like it doesn't take direction. Like, I think one of our blogs on the website, I don't know if it's up currently, but I know it's about AI voices versus actor voices. And one of the things that we keyed in on, or our sources keyed in on, was you can work with the actor, any competent actor, like at a level that we're working at. You can give them direction just real quick, and they'll take that direction and probably give you what you want. AI, you give the AI that same direction, it might take a lot of prompts before you get the thing you want.
Yeah, and maybe that's just in general, right? The knowing the limitations of how you're using these tools, and part of the use case is getting in there and using the tools to begin with, right? And at least for me, it was easy to discount its use case just based off of other people's experience. But until I got in there and started seeing where the limitations were and where it actually is really useful for my workflow, it took me getting in there and playing around to understand how to use it, right? Yeah. And to see where the limitations are, where those are. So other limitations are image creation, right? Graphics, image creation. Most of that is straight garbage.
Yeah.
And I think just in general, that goes into some of the concerns with this technology is taking artists' representations and sucking all that up into the machine and then spitting it out.
That's
with no attribution.
That's like a big issue with AI, and we'll probably save that for another episode. We're coming in against our time limit currently.
Yeah.
So like if you want to listen to us talk more about AI and its potential dangers, or maybe we'll talk more about how much we love it, check us out on our next episode. Thank you again. I've been James.
This is Dan.
Dan. We love you guys. We'll see you next time.
Till next time.